So let me try to put from a 30,000-foot perspective what you just heard from the ground and from some really on-the-ground reporting and so forth. So if you take a look first at the Senate as a probability map, what you'll see is a lot of what we just talked about in terms of the trends, which is that the Republicans started out in a strong position. Biden administration not doing well. Midterms go against incumbent party traditionally. And then you see Roe versus Wade overturned. They're marked on the upper left corner. And you see the Republican support drop. This is the Senate odds, the odds of the Senate going to either the Republicans or the Democrats. And you see the blue line at the bottom starting to go up, which is the Democrats doing better. You then see the Manchin deal as an example of the legislative success that the Democrats had during the summer, propelling the blue line back up to a peak in the middle of the summer. And then it started to go the other way, as we've talked about at great length. And now, as we sit here at the moment, the chart is giving the Republicans roughly a 60% odds of retaining the Senate. I want to emphasize that doesn't mean they're going to retain it. It means that if there were 10 elections out of 6 of them, the Republicans would win by this particular measure. But take a look at that dotted black line. That is gas prices. And what's interesting about that, and there are obviously an enormous number of things going on that make this chart what it is, but gas prices do show a surprising correlation to the fate of the Republicans and the Democrats. And it's really quite interesting to see that actually correlated, as we have all suspected it was correlated.
So, Steve, what else is going on there as the blue line falls, the red line climbs, and they eventually cross there sometime, I don't know when that was, October, I guess?
Yeah.
What else is going on there?
Well, I think on that you could defer to our colleagues here, but you can see gas prices starting to go up again. You can see all the talk about Roe v. Wade fading into the background, and all the legislative successes being forgotten or largely not talked about, as we just heard our colleagues explain to us. And so now it's back to the core issues of Biden's competency, the economy, inflation, and so forth.
And that plays into your second chart, Democrats sliding a bit in some key states here.
So what's interesting here, first of all, before we get to these 3 races, I would say, in contrast to the polls that we heard earlier, the prediction markets think essentially this is down to these 3 races, with the possible inclusion of Arizona, which I didn't put on here. But essentially, the markets think that states like Wisconsin, Ohio, North Carolina, New Hampshire are all essentially locked into their corner with very high probability of Republicans in the first 3, Democrats in the fourth. So the market thinks it's down to basically these 3 races, which are Georgia, Nevada, and Pennsylvania.
Yep.
Got that one. And you can see, again, a trend that is bothering the Democrats everywhere, which is these races starting to move from the Democratic side on the left part of this chart down into the Republican side on the right. You can see the little blue bump there. That was when Herschel Walker's problems got into the press, and so Raphael Warnock got a nice bump, but that has started to fade as well. And so what the market is now saying is that Nevada probably goes Republican, and the other 2 are essentially too close to call. And that feeds back to the 60% probability, because if you believe that the rest of the map stays where it is by party control, which is what the betting markets believe, and you believe Nevada goes to the Republicans, then essentially it comes down to these 2 states, and the Democrats have to hold both of them to keep their 50-seat position. The Republicans only have to win one of them to get to a 51-seat position. And so that really becomes the essence of how these markets are looking at the Senate.
And in your last chart, you're looking at the House majority, slim hopes perhaps for Democrats to hang on there.
Yeah, I didn't show you the overall probability of the Democrats holding the House, because the markets have had that up in the 80-90% range going to the Republicans really from the beginning. So the question becomes, what does it look like in terms of the composition of the House? On the left side, you see the betting markets, and it's looking, there's a wide range of outcomes, as you can see here. All those are probabilities of different numbers of seats that the Democrats or the Republicans would hold. But you can see on the right, the biggest bar is essentially centered around the idea of the Republicans having around 240 seats, which would be roughly a 30-seat swing, less than the historic average going back to 1934, but significant. The right side, I put in 538.com because the number of the sites that use models rather than prediction markets are slightly more optimistic about Democratic chances across the board. And in the Senate, the center point of the 238 analysis is about 10 seats more favorable to Democrats than what the prediction markets are saying. but still a fairly significant swing toward the Republicans.
Yeah, Gene Robinson, of course, we have 2 weeks. 2 long weeks.
And a debate in Pennsylvania
I can
tonight.
tell you a debate in Pennsylvania tonight. I can tell you Vin Weber was quoted as saying he was told by a bunch of old Republican legislators a long time ago, son, the cake is baked by 4th of July. I got to tell you, I always felt it moving. I felt the ground moving under my feet until Friday or Saturday before Election Day. And usually by Saturday, I just stopped because I knew it was over. But it was moving. You were running the rapids like anything. I mean, and let's just tell our viewers, anything can happen. You look at those trend lines. Some of those trend lines right now seem to be breaking toward Democrats over the past couple of days. Anything can happen. It can go in either direction.
Right. Yeah, I mean, one of the things you notice in those lines is that they move fairly quickly, right? I mean, when they started to move, they really went up or they really went down. So, look, there's so many races that look balanced on a knife edge that it kind of feels like just a good puff of wind in one direction or the other could make this totally different outcomes and make it look really, really different. And so, Democrats, I don't think they should despair at this point, but they certainly need to get out and keep working, and they need to get out their voters. The same for Republicans. They think they're looking pretty good in the polls right now, but their people have to vote. And that is, Republicans tend to vote a bit more in midterms than Democrats. I don't know if that's going to be the case this year, especially with Roe. This is a hard one to predict. And like I said, it looks like just a good puff of wind could send it really in one direction or the other.
That is a great way
All
to
right.
put it.